Hi, I'm Melinda. I have stage 4 adrenocortical carcinoma. I wanted to share a little bit of my story because I got great news today, and I wanted to share in hopes that I can help somebody out there. I'll try to keep it pretty short, but I wanted to give a little bit of an overview of my journey, just so you kind of know where I'm coming from. So I was diagnosed in 2021. I flew to Rochester, Minnesota to the Mayo Clinic to have my tumor removed. It was an active tumor, so it was secreting cortisol. So I also developed Cushing's syndrome. I had a really big moon face, distended belly, crazy hair growth all over, along with many other side effects. By the time they took my tumor out, it was 24 centimeters. And I began treatment a month after that in Florida. That's where I am living currently, at the Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa. I was put on mitotane, which is the preferred systemic treatment for ACC. It is a chemo pill. In addition to that, I did radiation to my adrenal bed. If that's something you're considering, please reach out to me. It's not something I would do again. I don't think it was super effective and creates a lot of scar tissue. I just don't think that it was worth it. I also got very sick on radiation, which isn't the case for everybody. That was my experience. But feel free to reach out if you need to chat about that or want to chat about that. And so I did radiation, and then shortly after found out I had a reoccurrence in my spine. So I had 2 spots in my spine, continued on mitotane and had those treated with radiation and SBRT radiation for bones. Shortly after found out there were 2 more spots in my spine, as well as 2 spots on my hips, a spot in my shoulder, a couple in my liver, and a couple in my lungs. At that point, I kind of stopped counting. If you have cancer and you've gotten traumatic news like that before, I think a lot of us, there's a point where we kind of just stop counting, because it's very scary. So I kind of stopped counting at that point. I was then put on EDP chemo, which is the infusion chemo. My hair fell out, all that normal stuff that happens with that. I also, somewhere in there, timelines are a little crazy for me. If I don't have my records pulled up, I might get it a little bit wrong, but I'll get everything in there. I had a liver ablation where they went up through my groin and inserted chemo beads into the tumor in my liver, one of the tumors in my liver, to stop that from growing. That was successful. However, shortly after that, I ended up getting a bacterial infection and ended up in the hospital and had to have a PICC line of antibiotics for a month. So I think in total I did 2 rounds of EDP chemo. 2 cycles. Basically after 2 cycles, some of my tumors were growing, and I want to make sure to mention that it was significant growth. I know sometimes oncologists will keep you on EDP if you just have minimal growth. Mine was significant. I think one of them almost doubled in size, to the point it was 9 centimeters, so it was pretty large. And then, so 2 cycles of EDP. And then after that, my oncologist wanted to put me on Keytruda or pembrolizumab, which is a immunotherapy, with lenvatinib or Lenvima, which is another chemo pill typically used for liver cancer and lung cancer. Well, first she wanted to put me on cabozantinib. My insurance denied that, so we went with Lenvima, which ended up working out wonderfully for me. I've had great results on the combination of Keytruda and Lenvima. If you have questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. Pretty immediately on that, so after the first scan, I think the first scan, we do every 3-month scans. So after the first scan on Keytruda, there was some growth, but they call this pseudo growth with Keytruda. It can look like there's growth, but there's not. And then at my 6-month scan, we started to see shrinkage. So we saw shrinkage for a little bit with this combination of treatment, and eventually everything just kind of stabilized. So all of my bone tumors have been treated with SBRT radiation except for the shoulder, but all of them have been stable since. And then, on Keytruda and lenvatinib or Lenvima, I've been stable for over a year on those. And a couple of months ago, I decided to go to MD Anderson. So I'm treated at the Moffitt Cancer Center, but with adrenal cancer, it's so important to see a specialist. So I also consult with other specialists in the country, including Dr. Foho at New York Presbyterian, Dr. Del Rivero at NIH in Maryland. And then, as I was saying, a couple of months ago, I flew to MD Anderson as well. I just wanted their opinion on my case. So we did a PET scan there, which showed that my tumors were actually mostly inactive, meaning they don't light up on a PET scan. So that was really good news. And they said, well, one of your liver tumors is lighting up a little bit. We can do an ablation to kind of speed up the process and like try to kill it, basically. So I flew out there in December of 2023, booked the ablation for February. So I ended up going back out in February and having the ablation done. This time it wasn't through the groin. It was one where it's called a microwave ablation. I don't know what that noise was. So they take 2 needles and stuck it through my side into the tumor in the liver and burned it, basically. That procedure was very effective. We did a PET scan. I guess it would have been 3 months after that, or maybe it was right when I got home. I can't remember. So maybe March, April, May, June. Yeah. So it would have been March 2024. We did a follow-up PET scan to see how things were doing, and we did see a decrease in activity. Everything else was stable, but we saw a decrease in activity in the liver tumor that was showing activity. So then I had my 3-month scan since then today. I've continued on lenvatinib and Keytruda. However, previously I was on 8 milligrams of lenvatinib or Lenvima, and we lowered it to 4 milligrams because in the midst of all of this, I got a stomach ulcer, which was miserable, let me tell you. Absolutely miserable. And like, you've heard how much I've been through, and like, that was awful. Because I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and I was puking like all the time. Sorry, TMI, but that's the truth. So we lowered my Lenvima and then started me on omeprazole, or I guess it would be like an antacid. I'm not sure, but I can't remember the store brand of like what you would call that. But anyways, that was to treat the stomach ulcer. So cut to today. So it's June. So it's been 3 months since my last scan. We didn't do a PET scan. I really, you don't really want PET scans like super frequently. So it's just not great for your body. So unless it's necessary, of course. And in my case, not super necessary because we can still see growth on a CT. So I just had a CT done and got news that everything's stable still, but when the liver tumor they did the ablation to went from 4.2 centimeters to 2.8 centimeters. So for me, that's a big deal because I haven't seen shrinkage in over a year on this treatment. And like now suddenly there's shrinkage. Like in my mind, I wasn't even thinking like that was a possibility. So I was like very, very happy when my oncologist shared that with me today. So I did want to share that success, especially for other stage 4 cancer patients out there, especially if you're stage 4 ACC. I know sometimes it's hard to like find hope, but I hope that like you feel a little bit better after hearing my story. And like I said, feel free to reach out to me anytime if you have any questions. In addition to all of this, I can probably share this now. It's fine. If I'm wrong about it, then I'm wrong, and I'll let you know. But a couple of weeks ago, so when I was on mitotane, I also hit a toxic range. My toxicity, I was at 31. I think the therapeutic range for mitotane is 14 to 21, 16 to 21. Don't quote me on that. It's either 14 or 16. It's been a long time. So my range got up to 31, which really was really toxic. So I kind of assumed like normal bodily functions like would not ever be the same again. So specifically speaking about my period, when I started EDP, my period went away. I haven't had my period since. And then about 3 weeks ago, lo and behold, there it was one day. So my period came back in the midst of all of this too, which is, in my opinion, a great sign. My endocrinologist and my gynecologist have both ordered a bunch of tests for me just to make sure that's what it was. They just want to make sure it wasn't like some other kind of bleeding. So they're checking all my hormone levels and will potentially do a sonogram just to make sure. But everything looks normal. It was a very normal period, so I'm not super concerned about it. I can't say I'm super excited. I've never wanted kids, so like that wasn't a huge loss for me losing my period, but I also am really, really happy to know like my body's working again. And then also seeing the shrinkage of my tumor today just like made me really feel like my body's strong and like fighting again. So yay, all good news. I'm super happy today. And also hopefully planning to do like a couple months in California for a little bit. Now that I got good results, I feel good. I've been like pretty independent for the past year or so, but still living at home. So I'm a little bit nervous about living on my own, but I think I'm gonna give it a trial run and head out to California. That's not new for me. I've lived in Thailand. I've traveled around the country by myself before. I've traveled internationally by myself before. I have great friends out in LA, so my plan is to hopefully sublet for a couple of months. So if you're in LA and you want to hang, definitely reach out. Especially if you could be a cancer friend, because I love cancer friends so much. I mean, I love all friends, but cancer friends are actually extra special to me. Okay, that's my update. Thanks for listening. Again, reach out if you have any questions. Oh, and please find the Facebook group, ACC Connections. If you're watching this, this is an online support group through Facebook. This is how I met most of my ACC friends and how I learned about ACC. I learned a little bit from my oncologist and endocrinologist, but the majority of my knowledge came from this group. And like, I just spent the weekend with five? Yeah, there were 5 of us. So 4 other people from the group, and I can't like say enough good things about them and the support and love they've given me over the past 3 years. I truly don't think that I would be here without them and without their knowledge. So definitely find us on Facebook. Even if you don't have Facebook, just make a whatever account. You don't have to add anybody else and just join the groups. If you're a caregiver too, same thing. We're there for you as well. A lot of people in the groups are caregivers, so we're always happy to help. All right. Thank you. Bye.